Hello, Phil Waffle. Welcome. Hello, everyone. This is the Dungeon Cooldown. Thank you for joining us. Sorry it's a little bit later in the week, but as you well know with this show, live performance and getting everybody together in the same room is very difficult to do sometimes. So here we are. Together, myself and Rachel, we'll be doing a DM-specific cooldown, questions for the Broken Ring, questions for our main campaign. It's all open and available here. So anything you would like to have answered, please drop it in chat for us to take a look at. Also, if you are not a Patreon member, this show is made possible because of our Patreon. And thank you, everyone who is here, our Patreon members. We really, really appreciate you. So you can check us out at patreon.com/thedungeonrun and get a lot of cool stuff, including at the end of our episodes, we read out the names in an improv style of those who are part of our Force of Light and Force of Shadow tiers. So
arguably my favorite part.
Oh, it is
so much fun.
It's so much fun. It was Jeff's original idea, and it was just such a great idea.
Very solid,
that
yeah.
We absolutely fell in love with it. So great, thanks. I'm a little quiet. I hear I'm a little quiet. That might be the case. I had to turn down my mic the other day. I was doing some VO and basically screaming into the mic. So better? Is that good? Sounds good? You know, Rachel told me it sounded okay, but sometimes these things are odd. So cool, great. Sounds like I'm good. Okay, well, the only question so far, first of all, before we even get into the questions, Rachel,
yeah,
how are you doing?
I'm good. I have not been awake for very long today. So,
what's keeping you up late at night?
So many things.
Besides the general world,
Besides, the world itself and the anxiety therein.
Right.
I am playing a lot of video games, specifically
which ones?
Diablo and Overwatch.
Yeah. Okay, nice.
Even though Blizzard and I are fighting right now. And we have been for a while.
Look, I am in the same boat with you. Diablo 4, my wife and I have been playing a lot of together, but I've also been soloing it a lot myself.
Oh my God.
On PS5. What are you playing?
I have been playing a necromancer, but I got to one of the bigger boss battles and I was like, I can't do this, not with my build. So now I have to figure out how to do that. I might have to just have pull my friends in and be like, help me kill this guy because I can't do it on my own for some reason.
Yeah, I started as a barbarian.
I love barbarians. I really like in true me fashion, I had to start more than one tune. So I have a druid as well, and I love the druids.
Yeah, druids.
I was such a huge fan of Diablo 3.
Yeah, same.
Like late night raids and everything. I was into all of it.
Me too.
And I love the seasons. I love that the seasons are free.
Yeah,
that's real nice.
Nice. Yeah.
And there's a lot of loot, and it's not just like cosmetic.
Yep.
I am very loot motivated. So Diablo 3 was like my pinnacle of loot goblinness. So Diablo 4 is kind of lacking.
Destiny 2 is also, it's the first-person shooter
Destiny.
Version of that. Yeah. Right, it satisfies the looter that I really enjoy, but it's first-person shooter style. It's still like space RPG, so it's kind of cool. I've enjoyed it.
Okay.
But Diablo, from the first one until now, has been like my thing.
Yeah, I haven't played 1 or 2, and I really want to.
Yeah, 2 was probably one of the best in the series, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm also, older school in that way, but I do think that 3 really nailed, especially with their seasonal content. They really nailed that, and I'm hoping that Diablo 4 starts to like really take a note from that, because the first one was okay. I enjoyed the first season in Diablo 4. I'm looking forward to the second season, based on what they've given us, but. There's some stuff I really want them to sort of adopt from seasons in Diablo 3. Anyway, so we could probably
talk about that for a very long time.
Same. I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 with my wife on PS5. Oh my gosh.
So bad. I am playing it technically. So I was playing it in the like early access. Back when it was like first released, before they had like 3 or 4 classes. Yeah. So I didn't get super far, I got into like I went through the Goblin City and everything, saved the druids, blah blah blah.
Right.
Got into the swamp, got absolutely decimated by this hag in the swamp. Oh my god.
Yep.
Like there was no way in early access, there was no way with what you had available you were gonna win that fight. It's impossible. So now I'm playing it now that I have my brand new fancy graphics card. It's not even that new, but it's much better than what I had before.
But it's fancier.
So it's fancy. I can play games. I can play Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate 3 and all that.
My wife and I just went up against that hag. I'm playing a Valor Bard and she is playing a Vengeance Paladin. And it was an interesting fight. That is for sure. It's definitely an interesting fight. I cannot wait for the DM tools that they will inevitably release if it's anything like any of the other games that they've done. I really want that. Like please let me build like in original Baldur's Gate 2, Baldur's Gate and never all the Neverwinter stuff. They released DM toolkits where you could build stuff, and there would be people who would go and build entire world servers. And for me,
that's really cool.
That's what I want, because this system really fits well to that. And if they can somehow turn this system into a VTT, it's game over. It's game.
Man, listen,
over.
If they could build a whole Witchlight, I would never leave the game.
Yep, exactly.
I just wouldn't. If they could build the Feywild, I would never. Do they? No, you probably don't. I was going to say, do you get to go to the Feywild in Baldur's Gate 3? But I doubt you do.
Not that I found. I'm sure there might be something like that. They play like a little bit with
cow
that.
Level. Also, hang on. Okay, if they don't have a cow level in Diablo 4, I'm going to be so upset. That's it. That's all. Let me put that aside.
Gonna be upset as well. Music
so
Man,
upset.
I have not yet run through Baldur's Gate 3 as Uggo. I will eventually. And there's even ways for Uggo to switch from Barbarian to Paladin. Albeit a lot less level loss, but certainly money to do that. So definitely a thing that I will eventually do. But I like playing new things. I just like food for me. Like I like trying different things and things I've never had before. My wife Heather is very much different than that. She's like, I like this thing, and I can appreciate that because I know what to cook, so I always know what to make. But for me, I love a really like weird variety of things, and then definitely in RPG characters, in play styles of games, always. So we'll definitely be playing Baldur's Gate 3 probably numerous times, at least 12 times, because I want to play each class at some point. But I will, it's a long game, so it takes time to work through it, especially when you don't have too much time as I do. But okay, so we have some. As Moira. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
As Moira.
Yeah, and I can't play it because I don't know what's going to happen, and I panic. So I made a different character, and I was like, she can be chaotic. It's fine.
I could so much appreciate that. Let me pull up the Patreon. I just had it open, and it looks like I closed it because I'm a silly. All right, here we go. Our Patreon. Open that up. Taparto said they have a couple of questions, but let's start with Johnny Valentine. I know Johnny Valentine had a very good question inside of our official Discord. Guys, if you're not part of that, please join us there. I'm doing a lot of new stuff with lore to sort of track. We're watching all of season 1. We've got some giveaways and stuff you can win through that. So make sure you join us in that endeavor. We're working with World Anvil, one of our sponsors. And you know what? I like it so far. I had some trouble with. We did a whole Discord stream where we watched the episode together, first episode of season 2 together, and went through a little bit of how Discord started adding people as writers for the show, as well as giving some more lore keeper specialized permissions to see some things that are coming soon. So really working hard on trying to understand all the details, because guys, I don't know if you knew this, but if you create worlds, it takes a lot of organization. I don't know if you knew that. There's a lot going on. And there's so many granular levels that, it's not an easy thing to keep track of.
Did you see what the Dungeon Speeder just said?
I did, yeah. Vote to rename Lore Keepers to the Lore Keteers. Laura Ketters. There it is.
I love it.
Yes, I love that too. Miniature Store is going okay. Miniature Store is going okay. Could always use more, more to do. But I've been painting a lot, nice. Especially as of late. And I'm going to be posting today, and will probably in the next couple of weeks, some very interesting things that I hope you guys get to see. Let's see. First question from our lovely Johnny Valentine 7. If you're not familiar with Johnny Valentine 7, they are responsible for the Freaky Fae Day card that went off in our last episode before the epilogue. Such a great card.
So good.
Such
That
a
acting
force
was
card.
so good.
Yeah, spot and really some of the best people to choose for that particular role.
I know, but I also really wanted to see like an Ulrich Camden swap up or an Ulrich Hono swap up. That would have been so funny.
I would have also loved to see an Ulrich Isoth switch. That would have been very fun for me. Would have loved to see that particular thing happen.
I don't know if I can do him justice, but I would have tried my best.
I would love to see how Iffy did Isoth. That would have been very funny for me to see. But we got what we got, and it's lovely. I have a feeling that card may come around again sometime. I don't know why, but maybe it will.
Real good. It was a really good excuse.
Yes, Team Yu-Gi-Oh! Welcome. We are 2 DMs for the dungeon run. Rachel just finished the Broken Ring season chapter season 1 for that chapter. Chapter season. We are moving into our main campaign, the Stormborn, back into the Stormborn, although that name will also change because they are no longer the Stormborn. Spoilers! Our first question was, hey, yes, no, or maybe, this is from the Johnny Valentine 7, have we met or seen the Queen's daughter?
This is something that Ron and I kind of talked about, actually. I have to answer that question with another question. Which one? Because Mab had said, I only have one daughter. Mab is a liar. Mab is a fae, she's an archfae. She's a liar. She's had many, many children, and she has a lot of children that have died up until this point because she lives so much longer than most other people.
Right.
So she's gone through like that long. Generations. Right. I would say she's probably had like 4 or 5 generations at this point of like in terms of elven time. So she's been alive a long time. So she has a lot of daughters. So maybe.
Yeah, and there's also something to be said about the red caps and the way love beautifully how in the epilogue you sort of revealed how those come about.
That came to me on the spot, and I was like, you know what? That makes so much sense.
It's very close to the actual like mythology of them, but the way that you did it was just I loved it.
Thank you.
Like it's not just from murder; it's from very specific examples of. Lord of the Rings did a lot of that, right? Like Tolkien did a lot of that. They didn't come back; they were like in ghosts in a swamp. Yeah. But ancient battlefields, right? That makes a whole lot of sense, especially in the magical realms. Yeah. So I loved the way you depict that. That was very very strong.
I had a really good time.
Narrative choice. So we also have a couple of questions from Tapartos on the Patreon. Tapartos wants to know one specifically for you, Rachel. What's next for you? Anything fun going on?
Well, I'm doing D&D in a castle in November.
Yeah, you are.
I would say come get a seat at my table, but they're both sold out. And one of them, they just told me, hey, by the way, it's a bunch of like industry professionals, so I'm running games for
no big deal.
People that I look up to.
Yeah, no big deal.
They bought my table out. It's fine.
Yeah, no pressure.
I'm not nervous at all. I'm not sitting up at night thinking about it.
Definitely not.
I'm really excited for it. But that's about it. I don't have a whole lot going on. I'm just chilling. I'm taking some time to just hang out. I think I want to try and do some kind of a one shot for Halloween for Girl Scouts Glory on our channel. Yeah. I haven't really talked too much about it. I think it might be an Eldritch horror because I like that vibe.
Same.
I don't like to call it Cthulhu because that guy sucked, but Eldritch horror for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of what that guy made was actually made by other people.
Exactly.
Because he handed it out a lot.
Yeah, he sure did.
But real complex.
It is.
Our histories, and especially in storytelling, real complex and odd.
Yes, yeah, it is.
But good news is he died penniless and destitute. So take that as you will.
Yeah.
but Cthulhu and all of that kind of stuff, the Eldritch stuff, is really in my wheelhouse too. The afraid of the unknown, being afraid of the unknown is a thing I can get behind.
Yeah.
I experience it quite a lot.
Oh,
so,
same. Yeah. Looking in the dark of the ocean and the deepest depths?
No, thanks. No.
I'm good. I'm good.
No.
Space? No, I'm good. Yeah. I don't need to explore it.
The whole don't look into the darkness because the darkness looks back? Yeah, understand that.
I don't need to look. I don't need to
look.
No,
thank you.
I don't need to know.
No. If Morgan was here, he would also be on board with this conversation because I know he feels the same way about that. Anyway, so Tapartos, and you answered Tapartos, and then Tapartos has one for me. Did anything that happened during the brokering that will affect the main campaign that you didn't plan for? Well, here's the thing. I could only plan so much, right? Because I gave a lot of power to Rachel. Like, I gave just more than I think the average person would give. Just like, hey, do what you want. I will make it fit and make it work. Part of that was a challenge for myself because I like improv, and I think storytelling in this way is a very powerful thing. But also because I wanted Rachel to feel like she could do whatever she wanted to do. And I've seen enough of Rachel's work that it was easy for me to go, like, she's not going to make anything super crazy that I can't explain or find a way to fit in. So for me, it was sort of like a challenge of like, you know what? One, I'm giving away the ego, and that's always a good thing. And two, I'm trusting in someone that I think is a wonderful creator and a great and fantastic storyteller. So this is only going to be, beneficial. This is only going to work out in the long run. And then for you to come in, Rachel, I've said this numerous times in various places, but for you to just come in and like, I set my expectation of, they will use nothing I've created and make it their own sort of separated universe, and that'll be fine, and it'll still have some impact on what we're doing. But you came in and you wove in deep, and for me, that was such a thank you. That says to me that you also like the stuff that I create, and that's very, very, like, I want to cry because I that's very sweet.
If you cry, I'll cry.
Very sweet, right? It's very awesome, and to see you when we were in the creation process get super excited and passionate about stuff that we were creating is always a very clear indication that you're working with someone that enjoys working with you. You know what I mean? That's those unsaid things that you can't fake, and that was such a cool thing for me to experience, of like seeing you get excited by building on top of what already came before. And I love that. And I hope you feel the same, because I'm very excited about the stuff I get to build off that you've created, right? So as we've seen in improv, if you go to an improv show, a lot of it is like, hey, I need a prompt from the audience. We've just taken that and made it into storytelling, right? So
absolutely,
it's been cool. But that's how I feel. So there's plenty that's happened. That all to say to Bartos, there's plenty that's happened that I did not plan for because I could not. But it'd be interesting to see how I can weave in what Rachel has created while the players are also making choices in the Moonborn Stormborn story. So that's the part that's going to be very exciting for me. And we've got a bunch of chats in here that I haven't yet read because we've been talking so much.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about that, Rachel? Like,
I don't know if anything could have caught you off guard, just because whenever I figured something out, I was so excited to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And we spent so much time in our Zoom meetings that went longer than we expected, being like, oh, what if we did this? And what if it was this? Yeah. And coming into it, you had said, like, this is in this world. And I immediately went, okay, how can we meld it together? Because I don't want it to feel like a book series and suddenly there's one book that's written by a different author. I wanted it to all be within the same theme and seem like it all went together, like they were companion pieces. And I think we managed it. I think so far we have done a pretty good job, and I cannot wait to see how that further grows. Yeah, absolutely, well done. And there is a lot that you gave and shared with me, which is very, very helpful. But there was also some where I let that sit on the page and didn't read it until after I watched what you presented, because I also wanted it a little bit to be somewhat of a surprise to me as well on what pieces that you actually used and how you wove them in. So for me, that was really fun to see. And then to get to be able to sit at your table as Laura Cat for an episode was a lot of fun too.
and to be able to, you know, I threw in a couple. I think some of the people in the audience realized it later, but I was throwing in Bowie quotes.
Oh yeah,
constantly.
I love it. Listen,
yeah, because I also love Bowie.
You took the prompt really well.
Yeah.
All I said was, you know, he's a character that's based on David Bowie, and you went done. Good, I got it.
Understood.
I understand the assignment.
Understand the assignment. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. So thank you for that.
Thanks for coming in.
Love Murder Rose has a question. How do you deal with main character players, the ones who try to insert their characters in every scene? On the converse, how do you deal with players who shut down completely whenever they're not the focus? Good question. Great question.
That is a good question. It's a challenge because when I first started in TTRPGs, I was that person. I was the main character person because I was so excited about storytelling. Same. It's not that I was like, my character's the best, and me. It was, I'm here for the story. I wanna engage in the story all the time.
Excitement.
Yeah. So I usually do, in most D&D groups, I usually do become like de facto leader only because I'm like really pushing the story along, because that's what I want. I wanna know more. So I'm always like running for the plot hooks as soon as they're put down.
Yeah.
So it's challenging. I think a lot of it relies on the DM putting story hooks on other people specifically. And especially for players who feel like they're a little bit pulled back at the table or they're unsure, I try to engage them very slowly. If they're uncomfortable and they don't know what they're doing, I try to engage them slowly and then sort of ramp up the engagement a little bit over the course of like a couple sessions or episodes or whatever. And I try to, one of the things I like to do before a game is I reach out to my players and I say, hey, what's a character arc that you want to see? Do you want to see a romance? Do you want to see something particular? Do you want to get kidnapped by pirates? Is there something that you want to play out? Because I always want to get my story done, but also have it be a balance. I want them to feel like their character has the arc that they want, and if as the player there's something like, I'm really into Jane Austen romance right now, as the player I'm like, cool, good to know that I'm gonna include that 100%. So I usually reach out to my players, and especially if it's someone who's a little bit quieter at the table, I will give them a big plot hook. I'll kind of draw them in. But I think, you know, it's nice to always have another player at the table that sees that and engages with them as well. Absolutely. So like binding two players together, also always helpful.
And backgrounds really help with that. Tying their backgrounds together in secondary or tertiary ways really helps to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the answer to this is very different depending on whether you're playing at home or whether you're playing on an actual play, right? Because actual play, in my experience at home play, I became that de facto leader only because I got really excited about what the DM was creating, and it's, you know, it's definitely an ADHD thing. I'm absolutely sure it's that.
It is.
But I was also the only one who was like, who wanted to do that, right? In a lot of my home play, there were other players who they like that, but they don't want to be the one who starts it. And so they want to be someone who's interacted with someone else who's sort of carrying the ball a little. So I always felt like the de facto person of that kind of situation. When you're playing in an actual play, most people who are there want to do some sort of, you know, carrying the ball here and there. Maybe not for the whole story, maybe not for the main plot line, but for their own plot lines or their own character histories for sure. And so I think a lot of what you were talking about is exactly the same way that I handle it. Like, I literally, for the City of Glass and working on now for the next section, which is yet to be named, of the main campaign, I send out literal Google forms of like, hey, what did you like? What did you not like? What would you like to do? What would you like me to stay away from? Like, what part of your background of your character is very important to you? How do you feel about your character in the current situation? What would you like to see change? What would you like to see, you know? And feedback from people is scary. Always. Yeah. But I've learned through improv and through doing all of this that when you're telling a story together, it is important, even if you are the one leading, you're the DM, it is important for you to get feedback and understand how your players feel. One, they'll feel more comfortable around you and are therefore more likely to take risks in improv. And two, you get a real feel for, okay, you know, are there issues at the table? When you get people together, drama is going to happen. It always does. It's inevitable. It's unavoidable. So we can all plan for that, right? Because we all know it'll eventually happen. And I think if you just, for me, I have found, I don't want to say what you should do. I want to tell you what I've done, and then you can decide whether that's good for you or not. What I have found is that just being open and honest and kind helps with a lot of people just saying what they feel. And I think that's very important for everyone to do as a DM and as a player. It can be hard. And honestly, at the end of the day, if it's not, we've talked about this numerous times in the cooldown, not everyone's going to get along. And if you don't get along, then there are ways to handle that as well. And so just try to do so with kindness, right? Be humankind, be both is, I love that. Not just because of it's catchy, but because it really embodies what I think too. It's just like, we're all barely not monkeys. And we're all trying to do things. So like, let's just take that into account and be kind to one another.
Yeah, we're all suffering together. We might as well be nice to each other while we're doing it.
Exactly. We suffer enough alone. We don't need to be doing it together too. Yep. So, I'm not surprised that you and I have very similar viewpoints on that for sure. Storytelling tends to reveal a lot of that kind of stuff. So, let's see. That was a great question. Love Murder Rose. Thank you for that. Fantastic question. Tuparto says, I wish Jared had asked the name of her daughter at the end of this one shot. Yeah, you should let Jared know.
As if she would say.
Right, but still be interesting to see, right? To see what she responded to with that. It's interesting to see that character respond.
I don't know if she would trust anyone with that information, no matter how much she trusts them in general. I don't know.
Something I found out today, if you're subscribed to D&D Beyond, they have map stuff now.
They do. It's in beta. Listen, I got so excited.
Alpha. It's so exciting. Yeah, it's still an alpha even. Yeah, it's so exciting. I mean, very
really
excited.
Cool. Yeah. I logged on one day and saw that, and I went, since when?
What? Since when? Yeah, I literally learned it today because Adam told me about it. Speaking of which, if you didn't know, and Marvel may hurt me because I don't know if this is supposed to be out, but I'm going to put it out there. But our own Adam Sleman is going to be DMing our Make-A-Wish one-shot coming here later in October. I'm very excited to be at the table again with him. He's got a really fun, exciting little one-shot to play for Make-A-Wish, so we got some goodies to give away for that. And I hope everybody joins us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get the gang back together. Before we get the gang back together, here I am like crazily looking at my phone, like Morgan texted me like, no, don't. What are you doing? You're ruining everything, Ron. You're ruining everything. He never tells me that. I am totally inventing that in my head right now. Thanks.
I'm sure Morgan's just watching like, what?
Aaron, what are you talking about?
Don't throw me under the bus like that.
I am not. Morgan is a wonderful person and he works very hard and he's very kind.
So hard. Morgan does
exaggerating.
So much.
He does so much. He is lovely. He's very lovely. I'm lucky to be a part of this with him, as we all are. Okay, so Idaho Judge is a little late to the party. I think they were named the Moonborn at the end of the City of Glass arc. They were, but as Morgan pointed out, it was sort of basing their allegiances to Lumbra, and that certainly feels up in the air now. I could totally agree that that's probably up in the air, so it'll be interesting to see what they name themselves. I'm very excited. If you guys have not, please go back and watch The City of Glass because it will be heavily important to our next chapter in the main campaign. Johnny says Coco holds all the worms, so to speak.
She does. Tapardos is heading out. Bye, Tapardos.
Oh, bye, Tapardos. Thank you for joining as always. I know Judd says, I've been loving the new style with sharing the world regardless of who's DM or playing. I think that's important if you're going to build a multiverse that feels large and real. If it all just came out of my head, it would all have very specific things in everything, even if as anyone like that to do that, it would take so much time and effort. So doing it together with someone else really helps mix it up and give different perspectives, which I am certainly a big fan of. And it seems like a lot of people are liking this new thing. So City Racing Girl says same. The tension, welcome the tension. Also says exactly. So Team Yu-Gi-Oh says, do you guys play D&D Beyond? If so, here's some ways that you guys can use the character. Oh, well, if you Team Yu-Gi-Oh, there is a brand new thing that I've started doing called the Lore Keepers on our Discord project. And part of that Lore Keepers is, it is my intention, once we get the lore out there and start the chapter up again, for there to be player-created NPCs possibly in the story. We can't include every one of them, but we can certainly include NPCs. Obviously, those NPCs would be run by the DM and for specific things. But you certainly, that is one of the ways that I intend on sort of enhancing our interaction with the show. So if you aren't part of our official official Discord, then you should be. So make sure to find us there and join the Lore Keepers. You can do so by DMing Dice and Capes or myself, and we'll make sure to get you added to that. It's such a Tension says it's such a good way to show your players how much they say they have and how they play and collaborate. Talking about what we're doing. Fail Waffle, preach it, Ron. Love seeing Bosog afraid to say any names toward the end of that convo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely something that I was sort of shocked to see Bosog do. He got real clammy real quick.
He really did.
When he was in front of Mom.
Mm-hmm.
And to watch Jared pull that off was, and you to play her as you did,
that was really fun. I feel like I didn't figure her out until like a little bit into the scene, and then I was like, oh, okay, I found her, I got her. But I want to get the chance to play Mab again because she was.
We have already talked about that. It is my intention that if they end up getting to that, it's all based on character choices. That's what I try to lead up with with everything. But you certainly play a better Mab than I do. So it only feels like the natural choice for you to sort of pick up that reign going forward. At least that's mine.
She's cool. She's fun.
Yeah, when Jared and I worked on her at first, she was very fun to sort of to play and to figure out, because some of it is you build a character, but you just don't have enough time or energy, or doesn't even work to your advantage to like, this is what they are since the first day they were born to now. Like that's so much time and effort, and certainly could do that. If that's what you're into, then please do that. But for me as a storyteller, that's way too much work, and I can't be flexible with things if we know that much. So I give them a really strong want, and at least within the last few years or so, what has occurred in a general, sort of a cloudy general sense, and then as around when they were, pretty specifically what they've done the last few hours and what they may do in the next few. And I find that really helps give, it's a window. It's like, it's one of the ways why we can't tell whether we live in a simulation or not, because as soon as I leave this room, the sky is drawn and I can see into the distance. There's no loading times. There's none of that. So, but if you look at video games, they do that all the time. I don't need to draw the rest of the world because you're not seeing it, and it wouldn't make any sense to spend resources. Right. Wouldn't make any sense for me to spend resources on that no one is going to see. Until you say, hey, let's go over there and follow Mab around and see what she's doing. Then I have to, now I need to know what she's been doing in the last few hours because you're going to go follow her. So it's that kind of situation I find in world building. Yeah. That's really helpful.
Figuring out the here and now is the most important. Fleshing that out the hardest is the most important, for sure.
And some of that leads to, like you said, discovering a character in the moment. We've definitely done that plenty of times.
Yeah,
and we play so many different characters.
Is all improv. A lot of it.
Has to be. You have to be everyone else, so it has to be that way. It's inevitable. You cannot
never ever bank on what your players are going to do ever.
Correct. Jeff and I used to have this conversation a lot because Jeff is sort of like he's more of a storybook preparer, which I am that is insane, the amount of work that he can do to do that. It is a skill and a talent I do not have. But some of it is also like what we incorrectly sort of like build the mind palace, right? You close your eyes and you put yourself there and you sort of place things in and go, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So you have to know enough around you to place things in them, right? You need to know sort of what has been built in the background so that you can make choices in the moment. Yeah. And that's what prepping for a DM for me is prepping like I know what the world immediately around me looks like, so that if they go right over there, I can place and oh, now there's a lamp here.
Absolutely, yeah.
That kind of stuff.
I do a lot of my DMing is like describing pictures.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that like
very cool.
One of the, you know, the graphic that everyone's like, you can see an apple at 5 or whatever it is. I am that person. So a lot of my like DM research is looking at pictures, so I can meld things together, form an image of what something is in my head, and then describe it.
Yeah.
So most of my DMing.
I am envious because I am not a 5 in that picture. I'm more like a 1 or 2. And so a lot of mine, I actually have to like set up something that looks like it, or look at other pictures of things that I think might look like that, and then sort of mix them together and add detail. But I can't like picture it in my head. I can still describe those types of things, but it's all like written, not visual.
Yeah.
In my head. So you are lucky.
I
am envious of that situation.
I spent a lot of time daydreaming when I was little. Like,
see, that's the thing is I did too, but I lost it over time. Like I started my life as a 5, and as I got older, it became a 1. I don't know what that's about. It's a weird situation. I attribute it to like medication. Like I'm on ADHD medication, so maybe that's a little bit of it. I don't know. Idaho Judd has a question. I've been struggling with my ADHD a lot lately.
Oh,
yeah,
applicable.
Can hear that. Do you either of you have any specific strategies you can recommend as a player or DM? Rachel, I'm gonna let you go first. I've talked a lot.
Oh my god.
I have a couple.
I just kind of lean into it, honestly. And I think that the way that I DM specifically lends itself to that, because I will sit down for a couple of hours and I will just flesh out a world. I will get the Pantheon. I love creating gods. I don't know why.
Same.
It's because I was a mythology nerd.
Same. Are we the same person? We are the same person.
We are kind of the same person. Down to the ADD as well.
Yeah.
So I will create the world. I will write out cities. I'll write out some notable NPCs in those cities. I will create the thing, and then I will just release into it. I'll release the players into it and be like, I know what's happening everywhere, and if not, I can just make it up on the spot. It's fine. I set up a little bit of a sandbox for myself. I set up those boundaries, and then I just kind of let my ADD go crazy with my players. I'll drop a plot hook and I'll be like, okay, go. Let's go together. Let's figure it out on the way. So really being able to just let go has really helped me as someone who suffers from ADD and doesn't medicate anymore. Other than that, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, so much of it is also what works for you as an individual, right? And finding those things that work for you, because there's a lot of little. I went many years without ADHD medication, and since then I can do different things, and so it's not completely gone, right? It's not like medication, fixed.
I'm cured.
I'm cured, no longer have it. It's like anything else where it's like a Band-Aid, right? Like I'm just trying to make the edges a little less sharp so that it's easier for me to fit within society. And so I'm finding, a lot of research I've been doing into ADHD is like, give yourself a calendar. As much as you don't like it, because I don't like that kind of stuff. I just hate it. It's always been a drag on me. But it turns out that that's the reason I hate that is because it reminds me that I can't do it normally, or as a neurotypical person apparently can. Yeah. So the best route is to literally create a calendar for yourself. That's what I've been doing, and I'm finding it very helpful for me. It's very, very helpful for me. But I'm also on ADHD meds, so part of that is I can tell myself and remind myself to do those things. And I luck out in having friends and family that also sort of like, hey, just a reminder. I know we've told you like 4 or 5 times, but I just want to make sure it's there again.
So helpful.
It's very helpful, right? And my family and friends know that about me. They know that as long as they can updating me on that it's still a thing, that I will be there and show up and be invested and all of that kind of stuff. So so yes, I know, Judd, it is hard, but you have a superpower, right? You have a superpower in that what Rachel was just identifying is that you can just create, right? You have the ability to just stuff it full of interesting things that people will want to play with. So it's about finding ways to sort of allow that, but also keep it contained so that you have a smaller amount of stuff to work with, rather than, oh no, it's all over the place and now it's hard to keep things together because there's so much.
Yeah. I've realized a lot of what helped me is like figuring out how the problem can be worded in a way that my brain will go, oh, okay, I understand our problem. And for me, it was, think of your brain as a computer, and it's a series of like folders. But your brain has like this much memory. However, you only have access to this much. And anytime you get too much information in here, even though you know there's all of this empty space, you can't use it. So the same thing happened to me when I was trying to learn math. So now I'm terrible at math, where my brain would understand the problem finally. It would understand the solution, how to get there, and it would go, okay, we're done with this. We've solved it, it's done. And then it would just drop out of my brain. Anytime, like, if I make a plan with someone, the same thing happens where I'll go, okay, the thing is done. I've already forgotten the thing because it was done. I just accepted that it was done. Your brain accepts things as being completed so much faster. And then your brain wipes them because you only have that much open space. Yeah. So figuring out that way to word it to myself, I went, oh, okay, I understand it a lot better, and I can figure out ways then that will help me work around my limitations in those areas.
I also have an app that was recently put onto by Jen Kreshmer from Twitter, and I can't find it here.
Oh. Honestly, if there was an ADD app that gave you loot, I would have that. I'm loot motivated. That is just... Yep. Yep! Dr. Russell? Mm-hmm. Oh, uh-oh. Ron, your audio is off. It sounds like, yeah, no audio on you. He was talking about Dr. Russell, what was the last name? Barclay. Dr. Russell Barclay, an ADHD expert. Go look him up for a second while we figure out when we're muted. You know, if worst comes to worst, I can just translate as we go for Ron. I can hear you fine. It sounds like they're saying Ron is muted. Tuo Mask is saying that. Nope, still. Ruh-roh. I am a fat loot person. I am. PHAT. I am all about the loot. It's bad. Let us know. I can hear you totally fine, yeah. Yeah. Listen, you're still muted.
How about
according
now?
To chat.
Is that better?
Nope.
That looks like it's coming in for me, though. I can see it. I can see
hey,
now. They can hear me.
Yeah. Okay, we got it.
One of the apps I was using decided to stop working for some reason, but the weird thing was it stopped working for you, but not for this, but not for you. So I don't know what's going on. Okay.
Listen, I don't trust computers. I just don't. There's too much going on in there. What do you need all that stuff for? What do you need all that stuff for? You don't need it.
What do you need that for? Why you need that? No one knows.
Why you need that? No, I don't trust you. There's too much going on for me to trust.
True that.
This happens to me all the time. Back when I was actively streaming on Twitch,
Yeah.
which I don't anymore. I kind of want to get back into it, but you know,
Same.
the ADHD brain is.
Hey, let's play some BG3. Let's play some BG3.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Seriously.
But
yeah.
back when I, yeah, why do you need all those secrets, computer? What do you need all those secrets for? All those hidden files? You don't need that. Back when I was streaming, I would have issues like we had a bingo card running for my stream, and one of the like center bingo, the free card was Rachel has tech issues. Because every single time.
As a lot of the fans here that watch me when I would stream a lot, it's the same issue. I'd always run into tech issues.
Every time.
Always,
I don't understand
time.
people who can have a flawless stream. I don't get it. Who are you?
Yep.
What kind of technomancer are you?
Yep.
I don't get it.
It's called neurotypical. It's what it is.
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice. Yeah, tech issues are fun. Yeah, sure. They throw in a wrinkle, but when you're, a perfectionist and an artist and an actor, you want it to be seamless, right? That's what you're trying to do.
Yep.
Trying to make it seamless. Rachel.
Tech issues are not fun for me because I get so scared of tech stuff. My dad, big tech guy. He's one of like very few people in the world that can do this specific kind of coding and everything. And he once... Here's the anxiety and the OCD in me. He once was working on one of my laptops and he had to put it on like a little grounding mat to open it up and work on things because, one stray spark of static and the whole thing is dead. And that immediately embedded itself into my brain. And I went, if I touch the wrong thing, I'm going to destroy my very expensive tech. So now even replacing a graphics card is terrifying to me because I'm like, what if I do the wrong thing? What if I break a prong? What if I do this, that, and the other? I touch something that's just going to explode.
Yeah. I've built over 5,000 computers in my life.
Oh God!
So for me, it's very, it's sort of second nature. Like I understand the guts. It's the and I've programmed. I used to program a lot too, mostly financial programming. But you don't. It's different when you can't control a software, and so you're always dealing with bugs. Like so much of this is bugs and not your fault. Like what I mean. I still fail to realize that sometimes myself. Like we were doing fine. Like I touched nothing and all of a sudden my sound goes out. That's a bug. I didn't do anything other than use the program. So it's just going to happen. It happens to me. I'm lucky enough sometimes for that to happen, I guess.
Yeah. Tech is still so fallible.
Yeah.
And so is the human machine. So fallible.
And the tension says I get so overstimulated, and I've figured out a trigger now for my overstimulation. I am a patient person. I work at it. I'm very good at being patient, but I find that when I'm overstimulated, my patience goes to almost zero.
Yeah.
And I find myself reacting, and I'm like, why is that happening? And only recently have I been able to realize that it's because I'm overstimulated in that moment, and finding a way to sort of like dim the overstimulation helps a little, but that's really hard to do too. Like I don't always catch it, and like hey, that tone was a little weird. Sorry, don't know why that was that way.
It just happened, man.
It just happened.
It comes
I'm so
out,
sorry. Yeah.
I have to like the way that all of my things in my brain work together. I focus better if I have all of my senses occupied at the same time. So I have to have like a taste. I have a candle going. I always have music going or a video going in the background, whether or not I'm actually listening to it. Right now it's Ghost. I'm just playing Ghost constantly all the time. But that's why Disneyland is actually, I find myself being able to focus really well there and be present there. All my senses are engaged all the time. But I totally understand when I get way too overwhelmed, and it's always mental stuff. It's never I don't get overwhelmed with physical stuff. It's always mental stuff. I just disassociate. For
me, it's switching. It's context switching too fast. That's when I get overstimmed. Is when a context switch has to happen, and if it happens in the matter of a second or two, a couple of times, that's when I get overstimulated. But I'm like you, where like lots of people around can be comforting because I can focus. It's sort of so much is going on that the way that I've described my ADHD is like I've got a bunch of radio stations that are tuned in, and they're just, some of them are sort of tuned in, others are very clear but turned way low. And so ADHD meds have sort of like allowed me to turn some of them down so that I can't hear them, especially the ones that are tied to my anxiety. because that's the biggest problem for me is anxiety. And so the ones that are tied to my anxiety have been turned way low, that now I can be like, okay, I still got noise and I still got radio stations going on, but my ability to focus is when I want to, right? Because as ADHD, we can focus on anything, but controlling over what you can focus on is the hard part.
That's why ADHD people are so accidentally nosy. They don't mean to, but I can overhear a conversation across the room, and I'm gonna listen to the whole thing.
And I'll clock it, and I will clock every word of it.
Absolutely.
Even without trying, you'll clock every word of it, and you're like, I gotta go have a conversation with that person.
Yeah, hang on. They're talking about something that I need to talk about as well. Hang on. I don't mean to.
I don't mean to do it ever. Yeah,
yes,
never.
Yeah. I am actually naturally a nosy person, unfortunately, just because I'm always looking for story, and there's so much story in, the average day. But I don't mean to eavesdrop. It just happens because my brain tunes into everything that's happening all at once, all the time.
Yep.
Can't help it.
Yep.
Can't help it.
And you cannot help it. As much as you want to not do it, you cannot.
Yeah.
Your brain is actively searching for it, whether you control it or not. And that's the real messed up thing is we have these meat chemistries in our skulls that we have no control over. And yet so much of the world is based upon what you can do with that thing. That drives me insane sometimes.
100%. Yeah. Whatever science teacher is teaching this chemistry up here is not doing his job right.
Not doing their job right. Also, like, when you have the miracle technology around you to like help people fix that, it should be very little, right? Yeah. Like that's so many of our problems are because the brain chemistries we have no control over. So if we could find ways to allow people to find ways to do that cheaply or even free so that we have a better society, would be lovely, would be fantastic. Please, let's do that.
But we live in a capitalist nightmare.
And right now I'm dealing with the purposefully hard to find ADHD medication.
Oh.
Purposefully hard to find, purposefully low numbers of production. Because the government is afraid that we'll have another opioid epidemic, despite stimulants like this being very different than the opioids. It's a very different situation. Yeah. Anyway, I could get on that a lot.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people in chat that seem to understand where we're coming from, so I figured that was a great line of questioning and things too. And I think it's very prevalent in DMing and playing in D&D, right?
Absolutely. In creative spheres in general.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. But especially like you said, disassociation and those kind of things. Being able to RPG allows me to disassociate from my own life a little bit and put what I want to happen in others. And so I think that's largely why I was drawn to it to begin with.
It's a great way to alleviate anxiety, honestly, because you have to focus so much on, I don't know what's going to happen. I have to be present.
Yeah.
It forces you to be right there.
Yep.
It's great.
In the moment. Did
I show up for the ADHD support group?
Yes, Kitty Scritches, you absolutely did. You showed up for the ADHD support group.
Welcome. I hope you were prepared.
One of my, talking about they're made of meat. Yes, I am familiar with the short story. Before I even read that short story the first time I was introduced to it, I always refer to, and I'm sure people have heard me say this before, especially during season 1, that we are meat spaceships. We are all just meat spaceships. Your brain is meat. But your consciousness and who you are is not any of the things that you are. And that's the part for me that I constantly am thinking about every day.
Yeah, you are a little electric spark.
Correct. A little electric spark that can self-identify.
And if you self-identify too hard and you understand your place in the universe, it really fucking sucks.
It does. Indeed. It's the heart of it all, right? It's why I love finding people such as yourself where we can understand that collectively and then move forward. I'm very Rachel, I do want to say that I am very, very lucky to know you, and I've been so lucky to work with you. It has been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. So Wise Character once said, I am a meat popsicle.
Yes.
One of the reasons why it's my favorite characters is because he said that and I went, "Hey, that's a thing I say sometimes."
True. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I do too. So good. I actually watched his recent one, was it called?
Baz Luhrmann, you mean?
Yeah, the director's Fifth Element. I cannot remember names of. Fifth Element is a French director.
Oh, it's not Baz Luhrmann. Is it Baz? I thought it was
Besson.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah, it is. It is Luc Besson.
Okay.
His recent one. Have you seen it? His recent one was Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets.
Oh, I haven't watched it. No, I don't think so.
I would love for you to watch it, and we have a conversation at some point.
Okay.
Because there were parts of the Valerian stuff that I absolutely loved, and there were parts that I didn't, and I wonder... I'm interested to see what someone else thinks about the difference between Fifth Element and Valerian, and why Fifth Element did so well, but Valerian didn't, because it felt very similar in a lot of ways, but
I can already tell you.
Catch fire. Yeah.
While having not even seen Valerian, I can already tell you it's the time period.
Fair.
It's the time period, and probably, I mean, I haven't seen it, but probably the way that they treat specific people. Because I don't know if you know the trope Born Sexy Yesterday.
No. I don't think I've
Born
heard it
Sexy
called that.
Yesterday
Born
is
Sexy
a trope.
Yesterday?
Lilu is a perfect example.
Ah.
Where they are, for all intents and purposes, basically a child, a baby. They've been in the world for 2 years, but they are already, they have the wiles of a fully adult, mature sexual creature.
Interesting.
And it's usually more often than not women.
Yeah.
That have to deal with it.
Makes
that are put in that place. Yeah. So I think that a lot of what was acceptable then is no longer acceptable now. So, I mean, a lot of old fantasy is like that. It's evolving. As humans evolve, as we change, I think our media should change with us.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense that certain things just don't mesh with our current feelings and understandings of things.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have to go back and watch Valerian again now with that sort of mindset.
I have to go watch it
and see. Yeah. It was an interesting mess for sure.
Yeah,
fascinating mess, as many people said.
Yeah, I think Fifth Element was really like taking all of the interests of the time period, and it just it was right place, right time, right content.
Right. Yeah.
For that,
which is probably why we all love it so much in the context that we do. But there's so many things that I love that I now go watch and we're like, well, that's not the same now. Right? That did not. That did not. A lot of the
sexual harassment is.
Yeah. Like I'm watching Buffy from season 1. Starting from season 1, I'm now like halfway through season 2, almost season 3, and like so much. Like the fact that Buffy is 16, and how old is Angel? Like. You know, like, yeah, season 1 was not great. Season 1 was not great. I wish somebody had told me that you can just skip season 1 and go right into season 2. Season 2 is much better. Still some weird stuff, but times I always sort of go like, it's the 90s. You know,
it's the 90s.
It's the 90s. But at the same time, like, some of it is so. There are really compelling, interesting story arcs in there that I think are very worth something. Just there's so much making out between someone who is 16 and someone who is not, and there's just extended periods of time of just make out. And like I get it, it's sexy, fun, you know, I understand that, but like
in a way I think it's part Joss, and in a way I think it is also part that becomes really like, as a young woman, when I was 16, I would have looked at that and been like, oh my god, I want that so bad. And now I realize it's a little groomy. Yeah. It's a little groomy.
A little bit.
It's teaching young girls that, you know, the older man is the hotter.
And they're going to have these things that are mostly inexcusable that they're just going to have because they're men. Which hurts men too. Like, to be completely honest, hurts men as well. So,
absolutely. 100%.
100% hurts us all. And so watching that and seeing that is super interesting to see, especially with the backdrop of the story that it is. But Willow is essentially who you probably were at 16, right? Like this, Willow is very much like, I want that. This is what I want. We shouldn't talk about these things. You know, watching it, my wife Heather, I talk about her a lot because she's a wonderful person. But she identified sort of the same thing with you. She's like, this, when I was a kid, this was like the thing that I loved. And so, it's interesting to see just all of this stuff and understand, like when it was out, I was, a teenager, probably a little younger than maybe their target audience at the time. But for me, it was like, I didn't really watch much of it because I'd seen the original movie and that was fun. That was enough for me. Like, I got it. Like, that was cool. I was much more into other things at the time. But it was in the zeitgeist, right? It was in the zeitgeist of a lot of, especially my female friends who loved watching it. So seeing that sort of context now, especially with someone who grew up with it at the time, and it was their thing, and to sort of see, she's like, I don't remember it being like that.
Because it didn't read as that at the time.
Correct. It didn't read
There's a
as
lot
that.
of stuff I go back and look at, and I'm like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
There's like
a lot of 80s movies.
Friends.
Like that too.
Yeah. You know what I don't think ever gave me that feeling was Star Trek, weirdly.
Yeah,
Star Trek was
and that
always
makes
ahead of
sense.
its time.
It's because they concentrate on actual science stuff, right? Stuff that's like possible. And I think that was sort of, to me, I think that's what I always attributed to it, is like, okay, you're focusing on like the reality of things, and I wish science and scientists were like that now. And they are, I think a lot faster than general society. There's a lot more respected women in science and as heads and as leaders in the industry. And I think that's really good. That's what we've been. Diversity is in science. The first place you learn that diversity is important is genetics. So like, it's literally the heart of everything. So why would anyone ever want to fight it? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Because it takes power and position away from people who would otherwise not have it.
And it requires you to think. It requires you to be connected and to think and not
to be
give
critical.
things easy, and to be critical, right? And to be able to take criticism, to be able to take criticism to heart and make a change, which the science that I learned, that was the strength. Like, learning what you do wrong is good so that you don't do it again, so that the next time you go, look at how strong my premise is. So I have been a big factor. I've said this many times in season 1 as well. It's like, science is important, and our focus in making sure that it is diverse is key to the survival of the human race.
Yeah, I mean, it's only nowadays that people are even talking about the reason that we have Wi-Fi is because of one of the most beautiful actresses in the world. It's Hedy Lamarr.
Yep, Hedy Lamarr. That's right.
She was so smart, so incredible. The reason we have sci-fi, arguably, is a woman.
Yep.
The reason we have Star Trek is
the reason we have
Lucille
chemistry.
Ball.
The reason we have any kind of chemistry of the medicine that we know. A woman.
Yep. Margaret
Space
Cavendish,
travel.
The Burning World.
Yep. Straight space travel. The reason that we even could get people to space in the 60s was a black woman.
Yeah. Imagine all of the science and all of the culture and all of the creative things that we have lost because we didn't give anyone else a seat at the table.
Yep. That's really
sad. We went a very, very different direction.
Look, I love this kind of stuff because this is the core of DMing, right? You're storytelling because of these things. Right.
It is human. It is a human thing at the end of the day.
Right. And we tell stories to bring about observations and viewpoints of these things. Exactly. So I am not surprised that it went that way. And again, as Tension says, ADHD will take
ADHD, baby. Absolutely. We got a lot of conversations we can have all at once.
So we do. And we've done so much today. It's been awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Rachel, I could literally talk to you for hours.
I know.
I literally could.
We really are the same person in a lot of ways.
Well, in a lot of ways. But look, I have also learned a lot from you. And that's the kind of thing that I love with any kind of relationship that I have with anybody. Like if you are teaching me to be a better human.
Yeah.
We are friends.
If we can create together, fantastic.
Yeah. And I find that creating together makes us better humans. So at least that's how I look at it. So Rachel, it has been a pleasure. I am sure that we will have you on this channel again sometime soon. I have every reason to believe that. And I look forward to it. Those of you out there who have joined us, thank you so much. It's ADHD&D. Yes, ADHD&D. Great. Thank you, Precarious.
I need that on a shirt.
Yes, absolutely. It's a great shirt idea, actually. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Again, if you are not part of our Patreon, please consider joining us on Patreon. As little as $5, as much as however much you want to. Our highest ranges get their names read off in an improvised format by our cast and DMs at the end of every show. So make sure you check that out if you have not. It's a lot of fun. We also have new things like the short rests. We called the short rests, but sometimes they go long.
It's not short. It's
like
not
our
short
last
at
one,
all.
like our last one with Jared and Morgan. After our
that was so funny.
So fun.
We turned the camera off. Morgan comes around the corner and is like, "I need to do a short rest," and he sits down at the table.
He had things to say after that one shot.
Things to say.
He had things to say, and I think he still got some things to say.
Conspiracy board, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's still got some things to say, and he's going to have a whole lot of things to say once we get back to the main storyline too, because we have a prelogue coming. We will definitely be doing sort of a let's transition back into the main story from our epilogue that we did before you even started the Broken Ring, and I'm excited about that. So thank you, everybody. Our cooldown, sometimes they go a little long. We love to give you as much of our time as we can, especially if it's interesting to you. You all seem to be very tied into what we were talking about as much as we were, so that's all.
We should just make a podcast where we sit down and conversate.
And we already know the name of it. ADHD&D. That's the name of the podcast.
Let's do it, Ron.
Let's do it. It'll be awesome. I like to create outside of everything. We are like that. Yeah, I know you do. We are a lot alike like that.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep.
Got it. So thank you, everybody. We will see you soon. Thank you for all of the donations, your bits, being part of the Patreon. Hey, joining us for our Lore Keeper on the Discord, being a part of us in any way that you choose to be a part of this show, we deeply appreciate. And as always, stick around. We're going to be rating one of our friends today. I think today we will probably raid Quincy's Tavern. They're playing some Baldur's Gate 3. We were talking about that. So we'll raid Quincy's Tavern. Give them our love. Tell them hello for us. And as always, dear viewers, humankind, be both. We'll see you soon.